Hello, and I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'd like to start with something funny. A man went grocery shopping with his wife. They split to save time. He was to get the produce, and she went to get the dairy. With his hands full of fruit and vegetables, the man walked over to the dairy section to meet his wife, but he couldn't see her anywhere. After walking up and down the aisles, he approached a very beautiful woman on aisle 9 and said, "You know, I've lost my wife here in the supermarket. Can I talk to you for a couple minutes?" "Sure, but how will that help? Because every time I walk up to a beautiful woman, my wife appears out of nowhere." The theme of our show is raising the consciousness and awareness in the relationship with wealth and applying unconditional love. We are living in the most tumultuous time in our history. Now you have an opportunity to either buy into the negativity and keep talking about it, or shift your thoughts and communication about it. In order to change what is happening, we as individuals must counter this gloomy reality. You must take action to save yourself, our humanity, and planet. I believe the basis of all the wars, weather catastrophe, and all the crises are stemmed from the root of addiction to greed and power, which these companies and leaders are unconscious to. Please wake up and do your part in becoming aware and taking action and stop these emergencies. Just bringing awareness to this in all of your communities is the first step. This is crucial for our survival. This is no joke or ploy to undermine you. This is real. I participated in the climate march this last weekend in Marin, which there were about 350 plus people, and the best results were in New York City, as there were 400,000 people participating. We all have to wake up to save our planet for our children and all humanity. This goes beyond focusing just on your bank account. If we don't have wealth in our relationships, on our planet, money doesn't mean much at all when it comes to love. Remember to look for all the miracles and be grateful. It's time to wake up your inner child, your inner connection with your higher self. This means to circumvent any self-defeating and condescending talking inside of yourself. This is where it all begins from, in every human being. This affects your health, wealth, and prosperity on all levels. Please wake up. Even if it's one step at a time in your conscious evolution, take responsibility. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come by Zig Ziglar. Our guest this evening is Eric Wentworth. He is also a local guy. Eric Wentworth's career spans for more than 35 years in marketing communication and as an entrepreneur. He was the founder and CEO of CGRW Advertising, a $28 million full-service communications agency, a firm he ran for 12 years. Eric also worked as a creative director or management director at major advertising agencies such as Tatum, Laird, and Kudner, Foote, Cone, and Belding, and Della Famina, Travisano, and Partners. Whew. He has won more than 50 major awards for creativity in advertising and public relations, including Public Relations Campaign of the Year and the Mercedes-Benz Retail Campaign of the Year. Eric was instrumental in launching 3 internet companies, including Realtor.com. He also founded International Motor Tours, a unique travel company, and took auto enthusiasts to Europe to visit factories, museums, and attend a Grand Prix race. That would be fun. He later created 2 award-winning coffee houses, cafes in Santa Barbara and Sausalito, California, that quickly ranked #1 in their respective markets. Eric graduated from the University of Missouri School of Journalism with a focus on advertising and public relations. He was a member of the American Association of Advertising Agencies Executive Development Program at Northwestern University. Eric also studied film cinema with Roger Ebert at the University of Chicago. Eric is the author of 2 books, A Plan for Life, the 21st Century Guide to Success in Health, Wealth, Career, Education, Place, Love, and You, and Secret Lives. Eric lives in Tiburon, California. He is married and has 3 children. This is the first segment of a 2-part discussion with Eric.
All right.
Welcome, Eric. It's so great that you're here. And I didn't get a chance. Of course, this is the first time I've seen your book.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, 500 pages. Holy cow.
Yes, you get your money's worth.
Woo. I mean, this is something else. But thank you for being here. And please tell us who you are. And
thank you very much for inviting me onto the show. For me, writing this book was a real catharsis and an educational experience. As we spoke earlier, it was Benjamin Disraeli who said, if you really want to learn about a subject, write a book about it. And I learned so much writing my own book. And all the areas that were of interest to me, which the subtitle talks about, your health, your wealth, your career, your ongoing education, the place where you live, your love life, all of these things. And of course, you as a person, all of these things are going to impact you all your life. And the key in the 21st century is to make them all work.
And you, I mean, I give you so much credit for attacking all of that in one book, because usually people just focus on one thing at a time. And you've like, how long did it take you to write this book?
It took 3.5 years from the time I started writing it. I did research before that.
Yeah.
And it was the research I did, which was for my own benefit, that actually resulted in the aha moment of saying, you know, I should share this with other people, because it's interesting stuff. It's life-changing research. It's life-changing information from some of the greatest thought leaders of all time, including people past and present.
So give us a sampling of how it has changed your life. Maybe let's talk about health first, maybe.
That's a good one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, as I get older, I'm especially more interested in maintaining good health and improving on it. And I think that was actually one of the most fascinating chapters for me to do. In fact, I'm doing a spin-off book called The Healthy Plan for Life that will include all of the things that I couldn't include in just one chapter. But I've learned an awful lot about the American food system, which is essentially a broken system and dominated by huge corporations and big money.
Yep.
And as a result,
GMOs,
pesticides,
it's disgusting.
Artificial ingredients in our food, the enormous amount of sugar. 80% of all the products that you'll find in a grocery store have added sugar. And sugar can be very disguised, because there are probably 12 or 15 different terms for sugar.
Yeah.
You know, maltose, for example,
Right.
fructose. And it's a tough thing to get sugar out of your diet. I also wanted to eliminate anything that was genetically modified from my diet, because the research hasn't been done that proves that it's safe at all. In fact, the research proves just the opposite.
And it's all stemmed from money. I mean,
It's
the
all
whole
from money.
impetus for all this is greed with money.
Yeah, especially with companies like Monsanto.
Oh, want to kill them.
Yeah, and many countries, unfortunately not the United States, have banned GMOs.
Right. Yes.
I mean, some countries that you wouldn't expect have actually banned GMOs from their food supply. But here, the big money interests are too well entrenched for us to get that done yet.
And we have to keep talking about it. I mean, that's the whole key, is to
Absolutely.
keep nailing until we can break that wall, because in Washington, D.C. needs it huge. And well, let's face it, the bankers and Monsanto own the government.
Yeah.
You know,
They really do.
Oh, and it's disgusting. I mean, I'm horrified by this, and it's just getting worse. But we just have to keep talking about it to educate the public, because that's what it's going to take, is for the public to start ganging up against it, you know, and waking up against it.
No, absolutely. If I can talk for a second about my book, what I have done is used the 21st century, the beginning of the 21st century, as sort of a demarcation point. a lot of the things that took place in the 20th century that we were able to live with or that we didn't know about have now come to surface in the 21st century to make life very difficult for people.
So what do you mean?
Well, there's been more change since the beginning of the 21st century than at any other time in American history. If you think back, and it wasn't that long ago, the beginning of the 21st century,
right.
but there was no Facebook, there were no smartphones, the internet was still in its infancy, really. We didn't have things like LinkedIn.
Out in the public,
no one knew from Adam what GMOs were back then.
That's true. Yeah. No Facebook.
No Facebook.
Twitter.
Yeah, no Twitter. There wasn't anything called texting back then.
Yeah.
So we've assimilated in a very short period of time, or tried to assimilate, an enormous number of changes, things that have changed our behavior as people, that have changed our country's behavior.
The world, actually.
People are in shock. They're like a fighter in the ring who has to fight 3 or 4 different opponents. He's getting hit from every side, and at the same time, we've had these incredible difficulties that the average Americans had to deal with. You know, the greatest economic decline since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
People losing their homes,
Yes.
millions of people losing their jobs.
Right.
The whole
And
stock
the
market
poverty
gyrating
level
back
has
and forth.
increased exponentially.
Exactly. And so most people weren't able to really deal with a lot of these changes because they were simply dealing with what was going on in their own life.
Yeah, just the basics.
Because just trying to survive, just trying to make some sense of it. Now I think we're kind of getting our first breath of air after all this has taken place, and people are now starting to become very activist about
Wake up!
exactly what has happened in this country in the last 15 years. And it has been, I mean, there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of bad as well.
Well, I think the bad, is like I've been saying for 2 years. It's like the CEOs are getting, slapped and fined, because the greed factor, and it keeps happening. It's not happening, really fast enough, but it's happening. At least it's happening.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's like. This is what my show is about: is refocusing. Wealth is love. Wealth is relationships. Wealth. We live in a beautiful, wealthy area, not just money, but beauty. So it's like refocusing and I know men have been driven to be the bread makers and bring home the bacon and all that, but it just can't go on like it is with the greed factor. So anyway,
I think as we were talking about before the show, I think greed and dishonesty are 2 things that are potentially going to destroy America.
Well,
it's always been there, but it's gotten so out of control in the last 15 years.
The dishonesty is, it all starts within yourself. If you're not honest with yourself first, how can you be honest with other people?
Right. Unfortunately, the people who are being dishonest are the ones who have an enormous amount of power.
Yeah.
So what we're finding is that the middle class, which is really what defines America, middle class people are salt of the earth people. They work hard, they play by the rules, and they are getting slammed. And as a result, the middle class is actually declining in size.
Yeah, I know.
It's one of what I start my book out by talking about are the macro trends of the 21st century that we all have to be aware of because they're going to impact our life in the future either negatively or positively. And once you're aware of these macro trends, and there are things like automation and robotics, which have eliminated millions of jobs.
Look at the drones now that are happening.
Drones, some positive things, the rise of women in the workplace, but there's still an adjustment to that.
Yeah.
Things like
the pendulum, too, with the women, because they don't have to be like men. They need to be empowered within their own balance of feminine.
People need to recognize each other for what they are and work together. But there are so many of these major trends that are happening, more so, again, than at any time in history. The Internet of Everything, it was Intel that did a terrific study that projected that by 2020, which is not that far away now, there will be 80 billion interconnected people and devices on the planet, all with the Internet. And
80
here again, this is
80
something we didn't have
billion.
to deal with 15 or
No.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a huge
I
change.
mean, it's good to be able to have that instant communication
Yeah.
with people, but I'm nervous for my daughter's generation because this is all they do. Do they speak with their
Exactly.
words? No. This is
Yeah, exactly. There's a bit
these
of
are the
a
future leaders.
there's a bit of a natural response to that with things like meetups, where people use the internet to actually meet personally.
Right.
So there's a
Yeah.
human need for
Right.
this.
Right. Of course.
So like you were saying before, the pendulum will probably swing back at some time. But another macro trend is outsourcing of jobs. It's you'd have to look back at the figures to see this, but in the year 2000, there were almost no outsourcing of jobs compared. I mean, we're talking about a few tens of thousands. Now it's millions.
Yeah.
And so Americans who thought their jobs were secure are finding them going off and overseas, or they're finding that a robot or some automated process has taken over their job. One of the things I tell people is, when you're planning your career, make certain you're not doing something that can be taken over by a machine or done by someone in Mumbai. And people are surprised at how many, and then also try to be aware of the disruptive changes that are going on. For example, 5 years ago, the taxi drivers in San Francisco would never have thought that their jobs were insecure, and now they're being replaced by Uber and Lyft and some of these other companies. So where before you could get away with not thinking too much about what you were going to do in life, at least nowadays you have to consider these macro trends, because it could blindside you. It could wipe out something you've studied in college for and spent the early years of your career developing. So I introduced the book by saying, be aware of these macro trends, and then try to live your life so that it's in balance. And there are a number of things you have. In fact, I use as an analogy I call it the spinning plate theory. You know the circus where they keep all the plates spinning at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, this is what you have to do with your wealth, your health, your education, all of these areas. You have to keep them managed well enough so that they're all spinning at the same time. If any one of these falls down, it can disrupt the entire rest of your life. All the other things are affected. So if your career is in the toilet, this is going to affect everything from your love life to your wealth to your health. And also, if your health is affected, it's going to affect your career and your all these things are interconnected.
I know, and that's our society, and it's the world. It isn't just our society, but so much value on money.
Oh yeah, yeah. And frankly, money is, as you said during your introduction, was it Thoreau or was it Emerson? Anyway, wealth is important.
It's the whole life. It's whole life. It isn't just money. So anyway, so what about wealth? You're talking about wealth. I mean, you've got so many. We could spend hours talking. About.
It's a big book.
Yes. I mean, love really, when it comes down to it, is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that in balance, then life is out of balance in all ways, really. I mean, I know that heads of companies, if they don't have the love, they focus in on their work. It becomes an addiction. So I mean, this is huge. It's huge, and it's time for everybody to shift their thinking, their feet, and listen to their heart, and start living it. And so what if you take a little bit less money? But what's important is the family, is the love and relationships.
Well, I thought it was.
That's what's going to save our planet.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I thought it was interesting that a billionairess, Sheryl Sandberg, who's the CEO of Facebook, when she was asked, what is the most important thing in life, she said, or to success, she said, the person you marry. That was pretty interesting. You would have intuitively thought that she would say something about the college degree that you got or the people you know, and these are all things that are important. But that's what she focused on. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't hear that one, but
yeah,
I mean, because if you're not happy in the relationship, your whole life can change.
Yeah, we all know people who are unhappy in their relationships, and it seems to dominate.
And it all starts with the relationship you have with yourself.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah,
you got to be your
right.
own best friend and love yourself unconditionally. That's what I talk about.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'd be amazed at how people don't understand what unconditional love is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because it's been so skewed by other values. So
yeah, no, that's very true. To that point, I have a section in the book just called "You," because you can have all these things really going well for you in your life. You can be managing them well, so that you're moving successfully forward. But if you don't work on you, it can all fall apart. Let's say that everything is going great for you, but you are an ungrateful bastard, right? That could be enough to stop.
Yeah, eventually.
Stop the flow of success moving forward.
Absolutely. Attitude is everything.
Yeah.
That's why I say that I wake up and I'm grateful, no matter what. You know, I mean, I've been in a position where I only had 6 cents to my name.
Mm-hmm.
I had material things, but I had only 6 cents and I was pregnant.
Mm.
So I know what it feels like to, totally have 6 cents. But I thought it was funny that it was 6 cents because that was intuitive for me in my relationship with the higher self, with God, But, it's like, I guess going through those valleys really gives you the compassion that you need.
The values are so important because, well, we live in one of the most affluent counties in the nation.
It's like 5th in the world.
Yeah. In fact, it may be the most affluent. And I live in a community where it's not unusual for people to have homes that are $20 and $25 million.
Right.
My son and I joke when we go to school in the morning, and we see all the Ferraris and the Teslas and things. I keep telling my son, this is a little bubble that you live in. And this is not the way the world is like. This is not even the way the rest of America
it's like
or California
1%,
is like. So it's difficult at times to maintain that gratefulness because you're always tempted to want what someone else has got. When you're living around people who have a lot, it's a natural tendency to want to have more, and so you always have to bring yourself back to what is real.
That's why it's important actually to go through some hard times, so you can. That's when you really learn how to appreciate.
It's very true.
There's assumptions that are made when you have a lot of money, and
well, like you in my life, I've had a lot of money and I've had no money, and the no money part really teaches you to be humble.
Humble pie.
It teaches you empathy.
Yes.
It teaches you appreciation. I mean, it teaches you a lot. I'm not a big believer in learning a lot of things from negativity. Like right now, failure is a big trend actually in the country.
But see, I don't believe in.
But you can learn a lot.
Failure, because I believe that everything that happens is if you have a challenge, it's an opportunity, and you move to another level.
That's the healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where I've come from with all my challenges, and I've had a lot.
I keep trying to make myself feel that way, and I do most of the time.
Yeah.
But that is definitely the healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah. So, and what you can learn from it and grow, and then you can help others as well.
Right.
I mean, that's why I do my show. So.
Well, I think a lot of feeling successful in life, a lot of feeling as if things are good for you, centered for you, is being able to keep all of these areas, being able to learn about all of these areas so that you make your choices in life not from pure emotion, but from knowledge. if a lot of people still in this country don't know anything about GMOs. If you were to do a survey, I don't know this for a fact, but my guess is probably 1 out of 5 people doesn't even know what the term means.
Wow.
So these are people who are being affected by it and they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So you need to be knowledgeable, and hopefully that's
educated. Education.
Yeah. Ongoing education is a big theme in this book, and it's something that is especially important in the 21st century because there's so much change. So you've got to constantly be educating yourself in order to stay relevant, in order to stay informed, so that...
Well, you can make the right choices too.
Exactly.
And especially with eating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you plan on living a long life.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'll leave you with this. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of your own dream or illusion. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy versus opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do the best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Never give up. First, be aware and conscious of your thoughts and catch yourself before they come out of your mouth, especially the negative thoughts, into words. It takes being sedulous, perseveringly, and disciplined. Be grateful for whose you are and where you've come from and what you have, and be grateful for your freedom and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind, your body temple. Don't forget to exercise. Feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. Thank God, love yourself unconditionally, stop criticizing, stop judging, and allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate and share your abundance and wealth with others. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. By Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Brad, Eric, Jack, and Mary. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now.